All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 376 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill, admin on the KissFAQ message board. Today, we will be joined by Lonnie. He's just running a little late, so get your ass here! Marcus Almighty Mark, and 69th
Greetings.
Blizzard Ken. So
Hello.
It's the gang. First up, has anyone bought anything this week, Mark?
Oh, I have. See, usually when this part of the show comes up, I'm always like, no, I didn't get anything. But this is absolutely something I had to bring up, okay? Because usually I go to, the record store here around town. Like, we have like Sunrise Records, which is like, a competitor to HMB and stuff like that. And they have like, the usual stuff, all the new reissues and stuff like that. So my luck in finding anything Kiss related that's interesting is zero, because I have all the reissues and stuff like that, so I don't need any of this stuff. But I was walking into the store, and something caught me in the corner of my eye. I was like, hey, what the hell is that? And I looked at it. At first, I was like, oh, I got that already. Then I walked back again, and I realized that there was something else on this album that I was like, wait a minute, I don't have that. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. I found the 45th anniversary orange vinyl version of this, because how these were given out on the Kiss Online, how they did this with Hot in the Shade, right? They did that as well with blue.
Yeah.
So I never got those when they came out, because at that time it was a bad time for me, like money wise. So, but as soon as I saw that sticker on there, that the silver 45th anniversary one there, I was like, wait a minute, that's not the one I have. So I was like, great, this is like, so I've never seen this in the wild. This ever. I thought that it was only like something that you would get through Kiss Online. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think what might have happened, don't quote me on this, that maybe somebody ordered it through Amazon, or I don't know, somebody through the store, and they sent it to the store, and whoever ordered it didn't pick it up, so they say, okay, screw you, we're gonna just put it into the into the racks, and somebody buys it, they buys it. And I saw it, I was like, wow, I was so glad I just snatched it up. So now I finally have this copy of Hotter Than Hell. Now, if only, and I didn't check, I'm going to kick myself if this was there, but could you imagine if they also had the Hot in the Shade blue there at the same time? I'd kick myself if I didn't look. So, but yeah.
Well, you saved on shipping costs.
That because
that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't have the first album one like that, the 45th or 40th anniversary or whatever it was. But I have most of the other ones. I got the Splatter, and I got those, the orange Rock and Roll Over, and those. So I'm glad I got that as well.
So, talking about new releases and whatnot, just a quick bit of news is the Japanese domestic issue of the 2 CD version of the Destroyer 45th Anniversary Deluxe is scheduled for release on November the 19th. Initial orders will come with an external bonus, a B2 size poster replica of the Japan Tour 1977 poster. And I have no idea off the top of my head what that is. That is, of course, just the 2 CD version. I wouldn't be surprised if, like other markets, for the Super Duper Deluxe one, if they do even offer it domestically, it'll be an import with a wraparound or just a sticker on it, if you can even get that. But certainly for the 2 CD, people who might be interested in it. It doesn't detail whether it's a digipack or what, but I would kind of guess that it more than likely is these days. It may well be external stuff printed in the States and shipped over, and domestically produced SHM CDs and all that. Don't know the details. Go up to CD Japan. They're one of the top sellers of Japanese CDs. You will have to probably still pay the price premium for delivery to the United States, because a lot of postal services are still impacted, but you'll get an oversized box with a lot of nice tissue paper, with beautifully wrapped items within, with very neat, it's just gorgeous how, the packaging you know.
It's
Almost a crime to open it up. It's so nice. So that's the only real thing I've noticed. And you posted today, Ken, on the board, the email we all got from Kiss Online. So
Right,
why don't you tell us about that?
Well, I did, receive an email today, and I guess other Kiss Online customers received about this Kiss Halloween T-shirts and so on, and there's also this Kiss, as part of this experience with the Kiss buying a Kiss Halloween T-shirt, you can get a virtual what do you want to call it? Photo with.
Well, let's call it what they call it: augmented reality photo with the band.
Right, augmented. Yeah, so I still don't know
Nice.
how that is going to work. So that's interesting. It's like $60 or something like that to do that special, 60 or 70, or something like that, to do the virtual or augmented picture with the band. I guess you're supposed to get the shirt. You get the shirt, and then you're going to wear it, but you have to scan something. I don't know. I can't remember the whole deal, but it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, if you've ever had anything to do with Kiss Online, you will have received the email, which does have the instructions. The only thing I don't care for is the wording. At the end of the experience, you'll have an opportunity to take a virtual photo with the band wherever you are. You can share this with friends and family as well. And there's a video up on Facebook that you can watch that shows kind of the process of how it works. You're about 10 feet away from the camera. You do your pose, and then the band appears kind of around you. They position themselves. It looks pretty nifty. I don't know how I'll spend money on another photo with the band when I've, just recently spent money on a photo with the band that I wasn't even there for. So, yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Okay,
I was going to say, I'm just wondering if this is one of these things to detract people from the whole Dubai thing, like to get their minds off it and focus on something different right now.
It's not going to work for Ken. No, Ken is adamant.
Work, Mark. If that's what they're trying to do, it's not going to work. But I had also, posted on the board about the picture of one of the new shirts, which is kind of, and I was looking at it, it's kind of in a way, a reproduction of the centerfold of the second Kiss Marvel comic book, that photo, kind of similar to that, but they're like, monster like now. I mean, Gene's like Dracula, and Paul is, now the thing about Paul, and I noticed, because if you look a little closer, on the one side of it, he's turning his face this way, and it looks like the shape of the Phantom of the Opera mask, but it's kind of, but it's actually painted, as the star and everything is all on it. I thought that was interesting, and he's wearing some kind of Dynasty type colored jacket, fluffy kind of stuff going on, and then Peter is kind of feline, with the fangs and all that kind of stuff, and I guess Tommy would be, I don't know if you want to call Peter or Eric, I don't know who's who anymore. When they do these new
play
things,
it safe and say Catman,
Ace, Catman, and then the Ace, or the Space Ace, or what do you call it? Spaceman.
There's only one Space Ace.
Yeah. Sorry, Spaceman. Was more like, he has lightning bolts coming out of his fingers, kind of thing, and that sort of stuff. But anyway, it's interesting. I'm not going to get it, but it's interesting.
Yeah, so shockingly, their run on this leg of the tour is coming to an end very rapidly. I think, they've got 3 shows left, so still no box scores, which is very not surprising, because I'm sure it's been papered to hell with how the kind of optics to me are that they are trying to get this over and done with. Just get the dates done, stay healthy, and, to hell with it. We can't keep rescheduling. And Paul, has kind of intimated that the end will be early 2023, which everyone immediately probably starts thinking New York, January the 30th, 2023, for exactly 50 years on the head would kind of
Makes
makes no
sense.
sense. Which now start looking at all the venues in New York City and see what is scheduled for that time and whatnot. But then they'll probably do something. Oh well, we'll call it February the 2nd, or
You know what though? Would
Yeah.
it be ridiculous to think that they would do something really, really cool and find the most obscure sort of small club they could find and do the last show as like a actual authentic sort of Coventry show with nothing, just them on stage with, you know?
They won't do it because there's no money in that.
there
Well, I
could
mean, could you imagine?
could there be if
They
it was a
could do that on a-
pay-per-view or
Yeah,
it was
or-
sponsored?
Well, then,
Come on. The last kiss from New York City, the end. This is the kiss of death. This is whatever. Throw in
can
all
set the
those
stage up.
cheesy.
Yeah, you
Well,
can set the
don't
stage
forget.
up like that. I know
Yeah, but-
Rush did a
Yeah,
thing like that.
But don't forget though too, guys. Metallica just did this thing too, where they played a club unannounced, like a last minute thing in Chicago, where they played like 30 years before when they did their first tour for Kill 'Em All. They just did a last minute announcement. Tickets go on sale today. We're playing this evening, and it was like around the block and 6 miles down for
Yep.
people who wanted to get tickets. So could you imagine if Kiss did something like that in New York City? I think it would be a huge thing,
Yeah, it would be insane. Or maybe they do it, and it is 10,000 a ticket, or 25,000
Yeah.
per ticket, whatever. Yeah, the
Correct.
problem is once you start doing asshole money, you're basically just getting assholes. You're not getting real fans. You're not getting the blue collar working class people who were there at the beginning who may still be fans. It's already stretched the realms of reality with guitar add-ons, diamond VIP. Yeah, they can do it, and it's great. People buy it. People enjoy it. I'm not dogging it in any way, but it's just become a point where there'd be a bunch of people. It'd be like the Beatles at the freaking what was it, the Queen thing, the Queen's.
Thing,
rattle your jewelry, and have all these rich oil stiffs up, watching and not being real. You'd want someone like a real New York, speaking like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever, and enjoying. No, real fans, who've just come from a hard day's work, not coming off Wall Street where they've been raping venture capitalists.
Well, I think that your initial idea would be probably the best idea then. Make the tickets available for easy money, like how Metallica did, but try to go in with somebody to do like a televised version of it, something where they can make big money off of it, but still yet offer tickets to those people who were loyal from the start, who can pay like $50 for a
Maybe
ticket.
lottery, like Aerosmith did on its
Yeah.
club tours in '78. They did it through radio stations, and it was kind of a lottery system. But to have it a completely blind lottery system with no freebies, no backstage, no comps, no nothing. Have it complete 100% egalitarian lottery, and then have a pay-per-view of it as well. And don't do it like Dubai, because you know what? That didn't work.
Yeah, that's a really sticky little point for Ken there.
Well,
Poor
for me,
Ken, every time
I
mention
paid it
Dubai,
as
and
well.
you too.
I'm as pissed at it as anyone. I mean, just because I'm kind of
Probably
used
a lot
to
of
it.
money.
I mean, they're gonna probably play if it's in January, February. It's gonna be inside. It's gonna be mostly it's Madison Square Garden. I mean, it's kind of like an obvious thing to me. I don't see them doing something else unless it was gonna be in the summer. So.
Yeah, but even for Madison Square, let's say they decided to do Madison Square Garden, I think it has to be a ticket lottery, because there's a lot of people who are going to want to come from Japan,
All over the
Germany,
world.
Spain, South America. The KISS Army is an international army. It is represented in every single country in one way or another. It is something that transcends everything
world.
that divides us. Yeah, we're a KISS world. We speak the same language. And it's all about volume. So I just don't want it to be like one of those fundraiser events where it is those rich, exclusive people at the front who've absolutely got they're as fake as the Botox on the foreheads and the tits in the chest. I don't want that image. Or maybe it's appropriate if it were. Kiss's final image is all the fake up front, who knows? But it would be nice, a lottery system and a pay-per-view for everyone else. And I would never expect them to do it free, but it would be nice if they could do something similar to, say, like, remember the Psycho Circus kickoff show in Los Angeles, the Mad TV, and to have maybe a free tie-in beforehand, on some station that wouldn't piss off half the demographic of the Kiss fans. So find something nice and safe, like maybe the Animal Channel. So you don't want to trigger any of your fans at this most exciting time of your band's demise, the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Well.
Yeah, and who knows? You could also do like a Rock Hall induction type speeches by the great and the good. Get Sebastian Bach.
Well,
get John Five. To talk about how much the band means before they go on to fill up that kind of TV shit.
I'm gonna say that I'm gonna try to sound like my good friend Ken, and be inspired for a minute and say that maybe, just maybe, Kiss might surprise us before this is all said and done with one last surprise. I mean, Kiss used to be kind of good at surprising their fans, I think, but of late, not really. But maybe there's one last surprise in the decks for us, or somebody. Maybe everybody comes up in this club show and plays with them. Who knows? But there's got to be. Will there be some last surprise for us? Who knows? Julian shaking his head.
Oh, sorry.
No. He's like, no fucking way.
Texting my son. No, I don't think they should even bother trying. It's just, it would never be right, and it's just like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame again, that I don't want to see two Catmen up there. I don't want to see, a Whiz, two spacemen. I just want to see, either it is Kiss, and it's the original four, donning the makeup one last time. Maybe you start the set with, the current lineup, and then you do the MTV Unplugged. They go wipe their makeup off quickly. Ace and Peter come out wearing their makeup for last, Rock and Roll All Night and Shock Me or whatever. Sing Beth one last time. Give Peter his space to do Beth in New York City, for the last time in makeup on a stage, and then they all come back around for a Kumbaya, Rock and Roll All Night. Good night and goodbye.
Yeah.
And then you can wear makeup or not makeup.
Then we'll start our tour, the next tour. But anyway, God.
Kiss 2.0 comes out at the end.
All right.
Exactly.
2.0 comes out, and the new guys.
And I turn off the FAQ. That is it. I just push the button and say, anyone bringing up Kiss 2.0 on this site is automatically banned. I want nothing to do with that ever. We're already too close to Menudo, so. All right. So let's talk. The whole idea this week is we don't have any idea. I'm too busy with the Aerosmith book and other stuff to actually do any preparation for shows. So we're going to scour the board. And it was Deuce who actually posted about the Paul Stanley finish by early 2023, so thank you for posting on the board. Next topic, and I'll go to you after this one, because I thought this was a really interesting one. The smallest musical change or style change between two studio albums. Which kind of pair of albums do you think are really continuations of one another? That the change between what they were doing on one was so negligible that it might as well have just been part two of the same album, or the AC/DC-ification of Kiss, that they recorded the same album again and just gave all the songs different song titles and slapped a new cover on it. Ken, you're chuckling, so why don't you go first?
Yeah, so that's one of the two topics. One of them was the biggest change, and the other one's the smallest musical style changes between the two studio albums. there's more like albums in Kiss than different, I guess. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's about half and half. But anyway, I thought about it. I thought, maybe the first two albums, and then I thought, Love Gun, Rock and Roller, and Dynasty Unmasked are close, kind of. I went with Animalize and Asylum to Asylum. I think those two are very, very close. Paul Stanley production, pretty much for the most part, and the guitar sound, the style of music they were playing, hairband stuff, or whatever you want to call it. I think those two are so alike, so that's the smallest musical style change between the two. I don't see really any major change between the styles on those two. What do you think?
Sorry, I'm still texting my son. Help me out here, guys.
Well, I think that I agree with a lot of what Ken said. I think that when I thought about it at first, the two albums that I thought, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I guess I'll see when we post this and people react and comment. I think for the most part, a lot of people tend to think that Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun are like brother-sister records. But, it's the one record is so raw, and the other one is a little bit more polished, where Love Gun has a little bit more polish to it than the raw sounding version of, Rock and Roll Over. But, you can say the same thing also with like the debut and Hotter Than Hell. Songwriting wise, they're very similar, but, the production is what makes them totally sound night and day, right? Those two records don't sound like alike at all, right? If you were just to do it strictly on just songwriting, that would be a strong argument for that. But because we're also considering how they sound as a produced record, you can't really say that. So believe it or not, my two that I picked were exactly the same as Ken. Animalize and Asylum were the two that I thought were the most back-to-back sounding and writing-wise, Kiss albums. Very similar. Yeah, because, I think Paul had a kind of vision at that time, and because he was kind of steering the ship at that time, he kind of made that vision come to fruition, right? Yeah. So, I think that there's a lot of similarity. And yeah, sure, maybe there's a little bit more different, different flanging effect on some of the guitars on Asylum compared to this, but that's just real minor stuff, right? But overall, I think the production and the sound and most importantly, the songwriting is very similar. And the funny thing is that they had two different lead guitar players and they were both doing kind of similar stuff at that time, Right.
Yeah, they were just kind of wailing away.
Well, certainly wailing away on Animalize. I think Bruce's guitar work was much more structured. And made a bit more sense. But I certainly agree with the songwriting was quite similar between the two, though there is, I think, a difference in quality on Asylum than Animalize for Gene in particular. Paul's stuff seems to be locked into a pocket that he was comfortable with at the time. Eric's drumming is very much, in the same sort of groove that he was in for most of that period, and the sonics of it is all captured somewhat the same. So I think that one is probably the most obvious choice of the whole catalog. Now, this list that they put up, and who posted this topic? Kiss Scandinavia, thank you for the suggestions on both that and the one that we'll talk about next. From Kiss to Hotter Than Hell, clearly no. Hotter Than Hell to Dress to Kill, clearly no. That's like a reversion back to reversing the two. Now, he does not, and I'm assuming it's a he, does not do Dress to Kill to Destroyer, ignoring the live album, which clearly is not either. I agree with Rock and Roll Over to Love Gun. Two sonically different, and one is tough in rock and roll.
More aggressive.
It's like Rocks and Draw the Line, Rock and Roll Over to Love Gun. But they didn't do Love Gun to Dynasty either, which does have quite a close parallel between the two. Ignore I Was Made for Loving You. And the basic sound and the overall production qualities. Now, I'm not saying Vinnie Poncia and Eddie Kramer are polishing the same way, but they're both ending up at the same sort of end result for, a similar batch of material So that would be one in the 70s that I think is probably the closest pair, more so than Dynasty to Unmasked, which went from polished rock to
very pop rock.
Yeah, pop. So
Pop rock.
Pop rocks. Yeah.
I remember this.
So I think, definitely Animalized Asylum. Revenge to Carnival of Souls, not a chance in hell. That's almost like Kiss to Hotter Than Hell, just because of the production, the jagged razor or barbed wire of that. And then Sonic Boom and Monster, no, because, well, the musical style of all of those is...
Yeah, they're different.
They're different in character. Just the overall way that I kind of think about Sonic Boom is completely different than Monster. Again, I think that's a little bit closer to the Rock and Roll Over versus Love Gun. In terms of both material and the sonics, which come into how I measure musical style. So, great topic, Lonnie. I have no idea, but I think you might well have made this unanimous, or you would have been a complete stone in the shoe and gone with something in the 70s. So, all right, so let's flip that one over on its head. And which song, the largest musical style change between two studio albums? Mark, let's start with you on that.
Well, I mean, most people would probably say, when you think of the biggest change musically that there was, as far as like, wow, I can't believe it's so different, people right away jump to The Elder. So you could say, that you have like, Unmasked to The Elder would be a huge difference, right? But I'm going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to stick to what everybody expects when it comes to this topic. And that, of course, is going to be the biggest change that ever occurred was, of course, Destroyer to Rock and Roll Over. I think that was the biggest change, in my opinion. I mean, you went from a completely un-Kiss sounding record in Destroyer, with all this stuff that Mr. Ezrin brought in to play. And then, then they, put their heads back on properly and did Rock and Roll Over, and, released the record that Kiss fans were definitely looking forward to hearing. Now, again, and let me just finish by saying that in case if there's some new listeners out there who are wondering what the hell is this guy talking about, I am not a fan of Bob Ezrin when it comes to Destroyer. I don't mind Bob Ezrin when he does stuff with Alice Cooper, Pink Floyd, even some of the later stuff. I mean, I think that Revenge is a decent record and he was involved in that. So, but I really think that, Bob had lost the plot mentally with Destroyer and just turned out a record that just was not good for a Kiss record, in my opinion.
You said Pink Floyd. I had a Pink Floyd playlist for all of my work today from 4:30 in the morning.
I saw you were listening to that.
Oh, God. I mean, I started off with the Division Bell, but when we got into Metal and Works, I was happy. And I even made it through the final cut today, which is always tough. Well, most of the album. When you get to the end of that one, I keep playing it because I keep trying to revisit it in a fair manner. But you know what? When you're talking about Ezrin, The Wall, wow. The Wall was just spectacular. Yeah. So, Ken, well, answer that question because I can't find it on the board right now to give it the exact
biggest
phrasing
difference.
and see what the crew is voting either.
Okay, yeah. So I thought about like Mark's Destroyer because they purposely knee jerk reaction and it, Destroyer wasn't doing well and their fans weren't happy at the beginning of that and they quickly started recording Rock and Roll Over. And then finally, Beth, of course, saved, Destroyer and all that stuff. But, I thought of that one. I thought of some other ones. But I thought of, and it's kind of how I felt when it happened, is when we went from The Elder to Creatures of the Night. That was a big deal. I mean, we just, I lived through, and I liked them all in their own way. But Dynasty to Unmasked, it's like okay, they keep changing now, and then they did the Elder. It's like, wow, that's another change. But Elder is closer to more of a poppy in a sense of like Dynasty or Unmasked than Creature. So when it went from the Elder to Creatures, I was like, holy cow, this is it's like, this is heavy, this is hard. And I said, they're back, So that was the big change stylistically, for sure. The sound, the production, definitely. The drum, the whole. Those are just very
it's night and day.
Different. Yeah, exactly. Night and day is a good way to put it. Album. So I think for me, those are the two that are the biggest change in between the albums, the album before and after.
Yeah, and again, I'm really tied into both the sonics and the songwriting when I'm approaching, defining musical style.
Even that.
Yeah, I've just voted on this so I could see the results. I forgot that was actually.
You added a vote.
Yeah, and I voted Elder to Creatures. Because,
you did too. Okay.
Yeah, I totally think that no one's voted for Destroyer to Rock and Roll Over. Mark, you better go in there and skew that.
Get that vote in there.
Yeah, God. No. When you think of what the Elder is and was, and just everything that's wrapped up in the style of having monks and chains and chanting and foghorns and and little acoustic things, and then going into the bombasticness of Creatures of the Night. Yeah, nothing else quite does that. I think perhaps also the other album that really kind of picks my attention here is Revenge to Carnival of the Souls. It's also a pretty jagged change in musical style, even though they're rooted in the same sorts of heavy, hairy guerrilla music. The polish that was obviously present on Revenge, just imagine what Bob Ezrin might have done with all that material on Carnival of Souls once he'd rewritten most of it. And made it palatable. So in its form, going from Ezrin to Toby Wright is pretty jarring. Way! Someone made it home. I thought someone had a headache from last night's baseball game.
Well, there's that too.
Rough game.
It was tough. But if you don't score after the first inning, you don't deserve to win the game.
Yeah, there you go. As Californian folk, of course, do look forward to a hate-filled Dodgers-Giants series, first time ever in the postseason.
It's going to be like the World Series, I think.
Yeah, I haven't been to a baseball game since the last World Series, so or opening day of the following season. So I'm actually quite interested. I have no interest of going anywhere near AT&T Park or whatever it's called these days because of traffic.
Oracle Park.
And San Franciscans.
Oracle Park.
Well, fake San Franciscans. And homeless. And stepping in shit.
Okay. And needles.
Boy, that's a... Come visit California.
Yeah.
Come on down.
I'm going to pack my bags right now.
Go visit Hawaii.
You guys do commercials.
Yeah. All right. So that was where I'm at with that. So Lonnie, let's get you caught up on what we've discussed. We blah-blahed for the first few minutes, then we got into some topics. And of course, right now we're doing the biggest musical style change between two studio albums, which are the two that you think represent the largest shift in Kiss and, however you want to describe musical style. So we've... Mark, what did you go with?
I did this Destroyer to Rock and Roll Over.
Okay. Have you voted yet on the board to get one vote registered?
No, I better do that now.
Yeah, please do. Ken and I both went with Elder to Creatures, and I was just waffling on about Revenge to Carnival of Souls being pretty jagged as well. So, what do you think?
That's an interesting topic. I think a lot of people would say, well, Love Gun to Dynasty, they went disco. But, Dynasty really isn't disco outside of I Was Made for Loving You. Dynasty is actually really good and fits in really well with like where they left off with Love Gun, because Love Gun was starting to get a little poppy at the end anyway. Not poppy, but it wasn't as heavy as its predecessor in Rock and Roll Over. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people would say Love Gun to Dynasty, but I'm not going to do that. Elder to Creatures is good. That's a huge shift. But just for the sake of being different, so we don't have the same answers. I'm gonna say Dress to Kill to Destroyer. Because it's the last of those first three really hardcore Kiss albums. And Destroyer, as much as I like it, it is a big shift from where they left off with Dress to Kill. And you incorporate all of Ezrin's production. You go to Bob Ezrin's production from a Neil Bogart production. I mean, that's a huge shift. So I can see where Mark's coming from then too, really, to say Destroyer to Rock and Roll Over, because they did a huge shift again, reverting back to a true form type thing. This is where we came from. This is really who we are. So I'm going to take the opposite side of Mark's perspective. I'm going to say Dress to Kill to Destroyer.
Interesting.
Okay, so what about songs like going from Anything for My Baby to Shout It Out Loud? Aren't they kind of the same thing still?
In a way, but the production's so different.
Yeah, sonically they're different.
Yeah, and
production's so different from just a 4-piece band that you hear on Dress to Kill to Ezrin's production on Destroyer, and everything's so built up and so big on Destroyer.
Like there's pianos and all kinds of other things added to it that Ezrin did to make those songs on Destroyer much larger. You didn't hear any piano or something like that on Dress to Kill, right?
To make it sound like an Alice Cooper record, really.
Yeah.
All they were doing on Dress to Kill was acoustic guitar doubling the electric, and come on, that doesn't really count because that's one of the old tricks for developing the sonics of your guitar sound. Okay, so Lonnie, let's go back to the smallest musical change between two studio albums, and I've just clicked on that to see what the votes are at. And the vast majority of people on the board think that Rock and Roll Over to Love Gun is the smallest change, and that's got 36 votes, and Animalized to Asylum, which I think the three of us picked, has 12. So more people also think Sonic Boom to Monster and Creatures to Lick It Up on those as well. So we are out of tune with the rest of the FAQ. Thank God. Lonnie, which one's for you?
Animalized to Asylum, that's interesting because they are often compared as being like sister type albums, mid 80s type albums, or going after. They have the same vision on both those albums. They're going after. They didn't really. Obviously, they changed with Crazy Nights, but on those two albums, they really have the same vision of what they're looking for. Rock and Roll Over to Love Gun. I just said it a minute ago. I see a shift from Rock and Roll Over to Love Gun, where I think Love Gun's so much more polished, and Rock and Roll Over so much more raw. I see not a major shift, but I see a slight shift. So I wouldn't say like they're so close to each other. I'm gonna say the original album to Hotter Than Hell. I think they're very similar. Or Hotter Than Hell, people complain about the production on that album. People complain about the production on the original album too. But I think those two, because they were recorded so close together, the band's so hungry, and both those albums have so many core songs on them that the band was playing in clubs before they were even signed. The original 4 members of the band, you're the same members of the band for both those albums. Both of them released, 6 months apart from one another. I'm going to say those two albums are very, very similar or the two most similar in my opinion.
Okay. Good answers. There are no wrong answers. I'm just looking through the board topics at the moment, so if one of you have one of the topics that you'd like to talk about, I'd just like to draw attention to Podcast dropped episode 199, 191, which was Ken Mills and Gary Schaller talking about Destroyer 45th and their opinion. It's actually very entertaining. I don't get a lot of time these days to listen to podcasts. This week I listened to 2 whole episodes. I listened to podcasts and I listened to Three Sides. Three Sides had an interview with Tom Germain, who is 242 Design, the designer behind a whole shitload of Kiss packages going back to the early 2000s, and of course Destroyer 45. So a lot of backstories on decisions that were made in the project, and just stories about it, and a very good discussion overall. So I know a lot of people have a lot of hate for that podcast, but do check it out because it's got useful information if you're a Kiss fan. So
yeah, exactly.
No,
I survived. I'm still here.
Yeah.
I actually intended to listen to it this week. I just haven't had the time yet, but I saw that was up, and I was like,
I did listen to it. I listened to it actually when it was broadcasting live. I was on the way to Toronto and they did a live broadcast. It was really good, like talking about all the little details about the box set and what they did, and the difficulties are not difficult. Just what it took to get the box set done. It's a really interesting discussion. Now, one thing that I was curious to talk to you guys about is Halloween, which we know is closely tied to Kiss, of course, right? For me, I don't know if you guys do this at all, but I've always find that around Halloween, especially on Halloween night, I have a DVD show that came out. Do you guys tend to watch that around Halloween time, or is that something that you watch anytime, or do you associate that closely with Halloween?
Well, you kind of broke up right when you told us what you watch.
The Paul
Lynde special?
Yeah.
I have a copy of it, but I don't watch it. I think what I go to more so is like Unplugged. MTV Unplugged is kind of a thing for me that I'll watch. And maybe Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. But definitely Unplugged. I've noticed that I really remember that the night of it first appearing, and I was recording it, of course, on a VHS, for people who don't know what VHS is on tape. But
this is a Kiss podcast. We all know what it is, and
we all
probably have it on Betamax as well.
There's some young fans out there that may not know what VHS tape is. So anyway, I remember that. I really remember watching it live, but recording it. But I remember the stupid, damn doorbell kept ringing. I had to go run to the door and hand out candy.
Freaking kids.
Get back, and then I start watching again more, and then the doorbell would ring. I could get up and get. I was like back and forth. I was like, dang it!
At least
people go away.
On, Ken. You're not one of
I
these
should have
guys
turned the light off
in your house with your light off.
Put a bowl out there with a full bowl of candy out front. But anyway, that was a bit kind of a very cool thing that I remember, and I really love that Unplugged performance was just fantastic. So that's one of the ones I go to.
I don't do Halloween, so it's not like I'd curl up with the script from the Paul Lynde, the Hoarded edition, with a nice warm mug of Ovaltine. No.
Ovaltine.
No.
That's a real old thing, Ovaltine.
Yeah, it just showed my age there. No, I don't, but, I guess if I was to do anything to market, it'd probably be another excuse to watch or rewatch MTV Unplugged or the Psycho Circus Halloween special, since I was there, But Paul Lynde wasn't my era, so it doesn't have that same meaning for me that it has for a lot of Kiss fans, or Tom Snyder either, for that matter, or what else is there? Phantom of the Park. I avoid watching at all cost.
You know what? And you're talking about Paul Lynde. I was thinking about this. I was thinking back, like, why didn't I watch the Paul Lynde special? Why didn't I watch that? Because I liked Paul Lynde. I thought he was great, on everything he had done. He's on Hollywood Squares. He's always one-liners and stuff. I mean, he was great.
He's hilarious.
I was like, why didn't I watch that? We had a TV guide, and I would go through and, pick the show I was going to watch or whatever. TV guide.
What's that?
and so I went back and looked, at what was on TV that night, and on another channel, there was this Bob Hope special.
Ken, you were watching Bob
You know
Hope.
Bob Hope?
Ball
Yeah, I watched, and I know I watched it because I like Bob Hope a lot. So I ended up watching Bob Hope, and I think I missed the other thing. I didn't know who Kiss was at the time. I guess I would have found out who they really were and what the music they played and saw them in action. And I probably would have went, oh, like a lot of people did when they first saw that. So I had to wait.
You watched Bob Hope instead of Kiss. Ken, I've been disappointed in you in the past. Later. Absolutely, I have on many occasions. Never to this extent.
Oh, Bob Hope. No, Bob Hope was very popular. I mean, he's a funny guy and had a good, whatever, these shows every now and then that they had. But anyway, yeah, I had to go back and figure out why I didn't, and I know why.
Well, gee, I guess I could have watched the Paul Lynde Halloween special too, except number one, I lived in England, and number two, we didn't get the frickin' Paul Lynde Halloween special in England, as far as I'm aware. So, and three, I didn't know who the hell Kiss was. Bonnie M, yeah, maybe. So that's even worse than Bob Hope. No one's going to diss Bob Hope, I hope.
Florence Henderson was on that, and the original Wizard of Oz,
Yeah.
Margaret Hamilton. Margaret Hamilton, and
see, they knew right then that they could keep doing the makeup shit until they were old as well. Once they saw Margaret Hamilton, they're like, boom, we're sorted. Yeah. All right, so let's move into another couple of topics. Lonnie, did you bring any topics? Did you have a chance?
Yeah, I made it.
Go pick one right now.
I did see something today, though. It was 21 years ago today that the original four played what would be and is probably their final show together in Charleston, South Carolina. And I thought, wow. 21 years ago that the four of them played. And, I have a bootleg of that show, and that's one of the ones I don't watch. I don't literally sit down with the intention to watch bootlegs or listen to bootlegs. I do have that show, and I like that show just for what it is. That the last time the four of them stepped on stage together, I thought we were going to get it. Obviously not a full show, but I thought we were going to get maybe something at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We'd see the four of them play together, even if it's just a song or two, and we didn't get it. And at this point, I don't think we will get it. Just the four of them together and no one else. I don't think we're ever going to get it at this point. And I mean, when they reunited in '96, some of the tour advertisements said for the first time in 17 years, the original four members of Kiss. Well, now it's been 21 years since they played together. I don't think we're going to get it at this point, and it's sad that we're not. But it's hard to believe that it's been 21 years since the four of them have been on stage, just the four of them together.
Come on, wasn't '96 pretty much good enough?
It was.
It was downhill after that. Come on.
It was downhill.
98 wasn't that great. 2000 certainly wasn't. Detroit Rock City was garbage. Come on, 96 though, it was pretty fucking good.
My favorite.
I remember Donington bootleg hitting and being like, holy shit, and every time a new show, right through to 97 and Finsbury and Vancouver, I remember getting those cassettes in, listening to them once. I still have them somewhere, probably never listened to them again, but those were some pretty frickin' good shows, and just the magic and the excitement, especially with fans for talking about the shows that they went to and the excitement right from when everything was announced. So 21 years since, if we never get it again, I'm okay with it. Would it be nice? Would it be all kind of a nice Mary Shelley? Well, not Mary Shelley, that's Frankenstein. Nice romantic novel, ending it properly, that they rode off into the sunset. It would be like, one of those romantic novels that just aren't realistic. So I'm at peace with it now. You know, I threw out ideas, like at the beginning of the show we were talking about how Paul's intimated, and this is only for Lonnie's benefit, that you know, the end would probably come in early 2023, and
Right.
then we started off on the, you know, reliving the Coventry and all that. But that's romantic. That's not reality. So I'm cool with it. But 21 years, yeah, Peter trashing his drum kit, the Teardrop saga, you know, and all of that was kind of cool. All right, let's get into a couple of final topics before we wrap up here. And I've still got 2 up on my screen. Anyone else would
Mark
like
has
to
one,
go?
I think.
Mark?
Yeah, I actually am curious about this one because I saw this one earlier and I was actually curious to see the reaction of the poll from the board. So let's talk about this one because I'm curious to see your guys' reaction to this, which is Origins Volume 1 versus Origins Volume 2. Which one do you prefer? So honestly, when I listened to both of them actually recently. I brought them in the car. I had them on CD and vinyl, so I had them both in the car for some reason, and I listened to both of them. And honestly, I don't know what it is, but I think I like Volume 2 better. I don't know if it's because I like the song selection of the covers better that he did on that. And I also think that the overall production and the sound of the vinyl on 2 is much better. I found Volume 1's a little heavily compressed on the vinyl end of stuff. But I mean, I'm a big fan of the Good Times, Bad Times, and I love Space Trucking. And, you know, I think some of the songs that he did, like 30 Days in the Hole with Robin Zander, I think those are the songs that still immediately stick out. When I think back to Origins Volume 1, if I hadn't heard it so recently, I probably would be scratching my head to think what was on that album, you know, besides White Room and maybe a couple of others. So for me, I think I'm going to go with Origins Volume 2.
I thought you were going to say that you thought the liner notes were so much better on Volume 2 that that was why you were going to have to
Come
go
on.
with
They were
it.
so
Yeah,
Well, they are, of course.
I'm so disappointed. No, I like the liner notes on Volume 1 as well. They're perfectly fine. Ken, what about you?
Yeah, originally when I thought Mark was talking about this, I thought he said Orange Juice Volume 1 and Orange Juice Volume 2. But anyway, I don't
All right,
know. They're
you
about the
down
same.
with OJ?
They're about the same. Anyway, so yeah, I have to agree. Volume 2, I think, is a little bit better. I like some of the songs on there better, I think. And definitely, like you said, Mark, the production is better. I noticed that right away. Yeah, like especially on the vinyl, it's much better than the first one. So yeah, I'll go with the second one.
I was trying to find the thread on the FAQ to see what the Hive Mind thinks, but I can't right now. So, Lonnie.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. It is Volume 2.
Volume 1 is leading. Sorry.
Really, I listened to 1 when it came out, and I listened to it for show prep when we talked about it, and then I really hadn't gone back to it. And then 2 came out, and I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, oh, I was really taken back when I listened to it. And I thought it was much better. I thought, like you guys said, that the songs, it was better. I mean, the song selection was better. I think the production was better. And I have gone back to listen to it, whereas Volume 1, I really just haven't. So, and maybe I need to, since I'm in the minority, since the poll and the FAQ is showing that Volume 1 is better. Maybe I'm at fault for not going back and listening.
Maybe
more.
we're all wrong. Yeah.
Right.
No, my playlist is combined and randomized, so it doesn't follow anything. I think both of them have a lot of good covers on it, but I just do prefer stuff on Volume 2, such as Kicks, you know, and Never Enough, or whatever that mountain song is. I just like the songs.
Never in My Life.
Never in My Life. Thank you. I completely brain farting it. I like those songs a little bit more, but Origins Volume 1 also has some, you know, I like White Room, so,
Yeah.
you know, and Emerald. Mm-hmm. So, and of course, Fire Nice, Fire and Water.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Sugar Daddy, thanks for posting that poll. Ken, did we get your answer?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Orange Juice.
Orange
Juice, Volume 1.
All right, who else has a quick topic before I get through these last two that I have sitting here? No one?
I'm good.
Okay. Does anyone prefer the Eric Carr version of Beth?
No.
Actually, you know what?
Come on,
I'm
Mark
gonna
does
say-
because it wasn't produced by Bob Ezrin.
Well, that actually could have come into play, but you know, but the fact is, I don't like it better. But I have to admit, when I first heard it the first time, I didn't dislike it. I actually thought that Eric Carr did a good job in singing. I thought his voice actually did suit it, but it's difficult to kind of listen to that and not feel that it's just like, you know, some attempt at getting back at Peter Criss somehow, and having them do that. So I'll always, you know, have a liking of the original because of that, believe it or not, considering that Bob did that. So
Yeah. Okay. And 87% of respondents currently on the FAQ say no, of course not. Oh, it's dropped down to 86. So
Mark just voted.
clearly some people have woken up from their nap grumpy.
Here's one more real quick one for you that just popped up on the board. It has to do with the Kiss Me Stefano of the Park.
All right. Before you do that, Legs of Steel, thanks for that poll idea. It was
Okay.
insanely silly. And of course.
And so this person, was it Moonwine? Said they watched the movie for the first time today.
Whoa.
And it isn't as bad or how they thought it would be.
They're
I guess.
clearly
But
still with us.
They have some questions. Here. And here's one of the first question regarding this Phantom. Why it has Phantom on the title if the villains are androids? I don't know.
And a mad scientist. Devereaux.
I guess so. Yeah, he's like a Phantom of the Opera kind of way. I don't know. So I'm not sure. So why Gene's voice is so robotic?
Because Gene's mean. That's why.
All right, I'll take that as an answer. Another. Why each of them has superpowers?
Super powders.
Powders. Yeah. Sprinkle some powder.
Only
Why
has a
each
Peter.
of them has superpowers except Peter? And why?
Peter does. He does those backflips and stuff like that. Remember?
Is that a power or is that
No,
a?
he does his kung fu fighting.
Is he a gymnast or something?
Peter has
Why?
the superpower of voice.
Oh, and there's the thing. And why was his voice dubbed? That's funny, but yeah. So yeah, we know
All
that
of
one.
these questions have no answers. They are the mysteries of time and space in the universe.
Our trial.
Star Child.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's the one that kind of, I think, is an interesting question about the robotic voice that he had on there. I mean, it doesn't
is
sound
kind of
very
interesting.
demonic. You know, it sounds more like he's an android as well, almost
Like he's going through a megaphone or something.
underwater. Yeah.
Star
A lot of Kiss Me the Phantom talk on the show today. You guys gonna make me want to go watch it.
Hey
I
man,
know,
it's a
we've
classic.
mentioned it a few
Halloween
times,
is coming.
Julian's like, no.
No.
But we might be doing something for Halloween.
Maybe
at
a
the end of the
live watch party so I can mock it
That's what we're
line by
hoping.
line.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
That'd be great. We can mock it all the whole way through.
No, I'd maybe do Attack of the Phantoms as well instead because it's got more Kiss music in it to get copyright dings on by YouTube. That would be more entertaining. All right, let's end with a quickie here. What's the most overrated Ace song in your opinion? And this is the Gene Therapist. I hate therapist, the word, because I always see the rapist in it.
Overrated Ace song.
Are you saying there's an overrated Ace song? I think Talk to Me.
No such thing.
That's
Actually,
All I want is a little conversation.
Julian's not a fan of talk.
actually, the song that I would vote as a highly overrated is Torpedo Girl. I've always thought that
How is it
song.
overrated?
That's
Well, because
awesome. I love it.
I got one.
I just find that people give it a little too much credit. I mean, lyrically, it's very weak, but drumming wise, it's very. Doesn't even sound like a Kiss song in that sense because it's too good of drumming to be a Kiss song with Anton doing it.
It's like a Crazy Joe song.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, it was demoed at Crazy Joe's North Lake studio, so who knows? Maybe
this is overrated, right? Or over whatever. Right?
Ace, overrated.
So I'm picking a song that he didn't write. I'm gonna pick 2000 Man. People just love the heck.
Take.
People just love the heck out of that song.
Ooh.
I think it's good, but I don't think it's the greatest thing, since
You've heard the original, right?
You think Mick does it better?
I agree that it's a lot better than the original that the Stones did, but still, I never. Even
Wait, are you saying the original isn't good?
I don't think. Yes.
Wow.
Sorry.
Man, come on, the Stones.
Do you like that
come
one?
on.
I don't know.
Wait, you're going after.
I like Brown Sugar.
Think of Charlie.
But yeah, I think Charlie. Yeah, rest in peace, Charlie. But 2000 Man, I think has always been kind of overrated as a song that Ace had sung. It just gets too much love, in my opinion.
You're saying that too much love's a bad thing?
For that song. Not for you, Julian.
All right, so I get to mess with
Lonnie,
Ken right at
what
the end
Lonnie
there.
say?
I'm gonna say Into the Void.
Oh, really?
I'm not a big fan of Into the Void, and I know people like it. Well, it's the one song on Psycho Circus, maybe the four of them played on, but
True.
it doesn't quite do it for me.
Yeah.
And Julian's a little taken back.
No, fine. I'm
Julian likes
switching
that
mine to
one.
Unholy.
Wow. No, Into the Void doesn't do it for me. It's fine, but and maybe it's just because of my disdain of Psycho Circus, just because the album just makes me roll my eyes when I think about it. But Into the Void doesn't do it for me, so I'm gonna say that's my overrated Ace.
Well, right there though, you hit on something very important, Lonnie.
Yes.
If that's the one song that they played, all four of them played together, that's got to tell you something, because that shows the simplicity maybe, and maybe the
how they were right to do that. Is that what Lonnie's saying?
Maybe.
Yeah. Who knows? These are the mysteries of the universe. All right, there we go. That's a whole bunch of board topics.
KissFAQ Podcast.
Yeah. So thank you to all those people who members of the FAQ board who posted all those topics. They may actually all be the same previously banned person, for all I know. You never know on the FAQ. But that was what we did to get out of making any effort this week. But I think there you go. We ended up having to make some effort by breathing. So for now, from Ken, from Lonnie, Mark, and myself, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.